is News Central live on TV3. I'm Kemeni Amano.
And I am Mawina Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now.
Pope Francis, the head of the Roman Catholic Church, has died aged 88. His death comes a day after he appeared in St. Peter's Square to wish happy Easter to thousands of worshippers. The Pope, who was the first Latin American leader of the Roman Catholic Church, died at 7:35 local time on Easter Monday. World leaders have been paying tribute to his contagious smile and boundless compassion, with King Charles saying he profoundly touched the lives of so many. He was recently discharged from hospital last month after 5 weeks of treatment for an infection. Francis's death sets in motion centuries-old process of electing a new pope. Pope Francis delivered his final act of devotion on Sunday, wishing happy Easter to everyone with the support of his aides. Hours later, he passed away. In his Easter blessing, he appealed to world leaders to prioritize peace, urging them to use weapons of peace and stop sowing seeds of death. From his early days as a bouncer in Buenos Aires to leading the Vatican, Francis's life was marked by dedication and compassion. Let's show you a quick profile of the late Pope Francis.
Born Jorge Mauro Bergoglio on December 17, 1936 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, Pope Francis was the son of Italian immigrants to Argentina. After studying in high school to become a chemical technician, he worked briefly in the food processing industry but felt called to the church. When he was about 21 years old, he suffered a severe bout of pneumonia that led to the removal of part of his right lung. He entered the Jesuit novitiates in 1958 and then turned to academics studying humanities in Santiago, Chile, and earning a licentiate equivalent to a master's degree in philosophy in Buenos Aires province. After graduation, he taught literature and psychology in high school while pursuing a degree in theology. He was ordained a priest in 1969, took his final vows in the Jesuit order in 1973, and subsequently served as superior of the Jesuit province of Argentina between 1973 and 1979. In the 80s, he served as a seminary teacher and rector and pursued graduate studies in theology in Germany. In 1992, he was appointed an auxiliary bishop of Buenos Aires. He was named Archbishop of Buenos Aires. During the economic crisis in Argentina, beginning in the late 1990s, he acquired a public reputation for humility, living in a simple downtown apartment rather than the Archbishop's residence, and traveling by public transportation or by foot rather than in a chauffeured limousine. He became an outspoken advocate for the poor and an able politician, promoting the church's position on social matters in meetings with government officials. In February 2013, Pope Benedict XVI resigned, citing old age and health concerns. A conclave was convened in early March, spurring hopes that Benedict's replacement could be elected and installed before the impending Easter holiday.
St. Peter's Square erupted.
Bergoglio was elected on the 5th ballot and chose the name Francis in honor of Saint Francis of Assisi, who lived a life of humble service to the poor. Pope Francis took charge of a church at a crossroad. In the early 21st century, Roman Catholics constituted more than 1/6 of the world's population, many of them in Latin America and Africa. Yet scandals, particularly the clergy's sexual abuse scandals that first arose in the 1980s and 1990s, undermined the church's stature, particularly in the United States and Europe. Pope Francis soon became noted for making statements that conveyed an openness to different perspectives on Catholic doctrine, particularly regarding social issues and sexual ethics. He criticized the church for having been obsessed with issues such as homosexuality, abortion, and birth control. That remark encouraged speculation both within and outside the church that a major shift in Catholic teaching and practice on such matters as same-sex marriage and contraception would follow. Yet, in the following year, Francis spoke out against same-sex marriage and defended the traditional family. Moreover, he affirmed the Church's categorical opposition to abortion. During a visit by Dutch bishops in December 2013, Pope Francis prayed for victims of sexual abuse and urged bishops to reach out to them and their families. Pope Francis's first papal visit to the African continent in 2015 was in Kenya. Out of a global population of 1.36 billion Catholics, 236 million are African. He brought in messages of a humble and merciful church to some of the most challenging parts of Africa during his visits to the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan. He denounced the exploitation of Africa by external forces and its destruction by wars, ideologies of violence, and policies that rob young people. The Pope was admitted to a special ward earlier in February 2025 in Gabriel Hospital in Rome with a respiratory infection, forcing him to cancel a number of public appearances. The Holy See press office trickled in continuous updates painting a critical and complex clinical picture. In his last interviews, he spoke frequently about old age and death. The Pope shared in a December interview that he plans to be buried not at St. Peter's Basilica like other popes, but at the St. Mary Major so he can be near his favorite icon of the Madonna. He'll be the first pope laid to rest there since 1669. He also asked to be buried in a simple wooden casket.
Y como siempre le prometí a la Virgen, ya está preparado el lugar. Quiero ser enterrado en Santa María Mayor.
Ah, sí.
Sí. Porque es mi gran devoción, muy gran devoción.
Siempre va antes del viaje.
Y antes, ya cuando venía, ¿no? Siempre iba los domingos a la mañana, que estaba en Roma, me iba un rato allí. O sea, hay una ligación muy grande.
Asked how he would like history to remember him, the Pope said, "He was a good guy. He did what he could. He was not so bad. I would be happy with that."
Oh, forever to be remembered as protector of the poor and vulnerable. Here in Accra, we've been talking to Archbishop Bonaventu Kofi, who's been sharing his thoughts on the passing of Pope Francis.
It's just about 1 year difference. I remember when I went to him, when I was with my when I went to him for the visit, he said, you're wearing a castle, a very new castle. It's new. And then you started laughing. So somebody who Somebody who's he makes people laugh. That is all right. That's my personal relationship with him. When I went to him, he told me, "Hey, you, when were you ordained bishop?" I said I was ordained in 2014. He says you're smelling your cassock smells it. My cassock is very new. It smells like a new bishop. And then from that time, everything he writes, everything he says, you can see that the man is getting at the poor.
And there'll be a lot more on the Pope, his passing, and what happens next. A lot of you are asking questions on that. As and when details emerge, we'll bring that to you. But let's move away from that. And a former CEO of Kokobo, Dr. Steven Puni, says President Mahamas' first tenure performed better with regards to the country's cocoa sector. Speaking after attending Easter Sunday church service at the Doma Bibian Niha Emmanuel congregation in the Bono region, Dr. Puni also accused the former administration of persecuting him.
We achieved a lot under President Mahamas during his first term, as far as the cocoa industry is concerned. Now the cocoa board is on its knees. There's a lot of mess that has been created during the 8 years of former President So, and I leave everything for you to judge. You know, compare the youth during our time, and then you compare to what other people have left behind. I came here today for a Thanksgiving service to tell the whole world that it is Almighty God that has delivered me from the hands of my enemies and the wicked, who decided that for 8 years they were going to frustrate me. I was persecuted for 8 years, and I kept praying. I left this battle in the hands of the Almighty God. I knew that I was innocent, and I always prayed to the Almighty God to strengthen my faith. So I had no weapon. My only weapon was prayer.
Let's move away and return to our top story for you in relation to the passing of the Pope. Let's take you right now to St. Thomas Aquinas, where my colleague Noble Crosbyan is joining us from. Pick thoughts from there as well. Crosby, what can you say is the mood like where you are?
Well, Eric, the world is mourning the death of Pope Francis. Now, we know that he led the Catholic Church for over 12 years, championing humility, social justice, and outreach to the marginalized. You know that Ghana is a nation with a vibrant Catholic community, and its teachers and leadership have left a profound impact. We've engaged with some patrons here at St. Thomas Aquinas. Now, today is also a day that some dioceses in the capital, they are having some form of a picnic as part of the Easter celebration. So, St. Thomas Aquinas is one of the venues. Today, we've met with the Archbishop of the Accra Diocese, Archbishop Bonaventu Kofi. We chanced upon him here and we spoke with him. What he's telling us is how good a man the late Pope has been to the world and to the Catholic Church specifically. His advice through his writings, his presence, one thing that he's emphasizing is that he was a Pope for the poor. He was there for the marginalized in the society. He opened his arms, he showed a lot of love, and he's somebody that the Catholic Church will miss very, very much. He will be irreplaceable. Other priests here at St. Thomas Aquinas are also sharing similar sentiments, although they are sad at his passing. The fact that it is coinciding with the Easter celebration. Yesterday was Sunday when Jesus arose from the dead. So it is coinciding with this day, and it is signifying that, you know, death has no power. Although the Pope has been called by God. It is his time and he has left, but he has left a lasting legacy for the entire world, for the Catholic Church, and for Christians in general to emulate and try and be like him. Bonaventu Kofi, the Archbishop, he has been also talking to us about the processes that would need to happen for a new Pope to be elected by the Vatican. He's speaking about cardinals going to meet and the secret ballot process, the election process, amongst others. So it's been quite a solemn mood for Catholics throughout the world, particularly those in Ghana. They are remembering the impact of Pope Francis, what he stood for, what he helped the world achieve, how he mediated for peace. He spoke about peace, concern for humanity, the marginalized, and others. So essentially, those are the memories that people will have of the Pope. I spoke with a few children as well. Well, they may not have direct contact with the Pope, but certainly they have heard about him, and they're telling me that he was a good man. He motivated the church, encouraged the church. He was somebody that they were all looking up to, that while they grow up, they will endeavor to be like him. They will endeavor to hopefully become popes as well. So, Eric, if you ask, that is what is happening here at the St. Thomas Aquinas Senior High School.
Just quickly, though, has it dampened the picnic mood, or they're trying to manage it all through?
Well, they're trying to blend the two, Eric. Although the picnic is yet to get into full force, it will in the maybe coming hours when the sun dies down a little. But they are also, anticipating the enjoyment that the picnic will come with, the reflection that the Easter celebration will also come with, as well as the death of the Pope. So it's a cocktail of these emotions, and they're expressing it in the best way they think they can. They're encouraging themselves that although the Pope was unwell for the past couple of periods, he was still, ever present, doing his best to be present to carry out the duties that have been expected of him all this while.
Crosby, thank you for those details. That's Noble Crosbyan, and from the St. Thomas Aquinas area. Well, the Metropolitan Archbishop of Cape Coast, His Most Reverend Charles Gabriel Palabakle, he says that Pope Francis was a man who used his leadership to make a global impact. According to him, the Pope was a great leader who had extended religious boundaries to promote peace and even champion environmental issues with passion to help make the world a better place.
Most probably we should look at the various documents, encyclicals, papal letters, which he, himself wrote and left. Laudato Si. Laudato Si is a document in which the Pope talks about the environment, about climate change, about how we were exploiting the environment instead of being stewards of the environment, of the forest, of the water bodies, of everything that God has given us. He called on us to really respect these. Then he followed up not long after that with Fratelli Tutti. Fratelli Tutti is another document in which he makes it clear that we as human beings have a very inextricable, call it this way, communion and contact with the environment. And that if we destroyed the environment, we were destroying ourselves. He used the title Fratelli Tutti from St. Francis to say that the earth is our mother. The air, the trees and everything are our brothers and sisters. So you see, he had a very global idea, universal idea of what the environment was. Apart from that, I think one of the documents for which he will always be remembered is the one on the dignity of the human person, which he signed with the Grand Mufti Al-Taib. I'm not very clear in my mind at what time. I think about 2019 or 22. The Muslim leader of Egypt. And he signed the document that before God, we are all brothers and sisters, irrespective of our religious, beliefs and the rest of it. And definitely, he met with the Jewish leadership. He met with the Islamic leadership. Anywhere he went, he was ready to meet those who mattered. He also met political leaders at various meetings and the rest. So I believe, going back to what he has written also, we will look back and be very impressed by the fact that this man did not only preach, he lived what he himself was convinced about.
Now, fisher folk operating at Cape 3 points where oil exploration activities are taking place are requesting for a physical demarcation of the safety zone from Tallow and its Jubilee partners to facilitate safe and efficient fishing operations. Now, this comes amidst ongoing tensions between fisher folk and oil operators regarding the demarcation of zones. Irama Smith has more in the following report.
Despite the sensitization and training for key stakeholders, especially fishermen, encroachment into the safety zone near Ghana's oil fields by the latter remain a concern. According to the Ghana National Canoe Fishermen's Council, the incursion rate is on the rise. Secretary to the council, Mike Abakedu, says there is a need for physical demarcation of the safety zone to guide their operations.
The fishermen always report that there is no physical demarcation to determine where the safety zone starts and ends, even though it ends at the FPSO, but where it starts is the problem. We are fortunate to join the familiarization team to the offshore, and you cannot see any physical demarcation to the safety zones. And so fishermen are calling for physical demarcation.
Meanwhile, the social performance manager at Tallow, Edmond Fifi Angel, explains that the safety zone is serving as a conservation zone for fish, where they can breed and later move out of the area. He insists that the demarcations are clear enough for the fishermen to see.
The demarcation is clear enough, and we have security vessels stationed there. So there are two spaces. There is the safety zone and then there is the advisory zone. So when you get to the advisory zone, the security vessel will advise you that you are getting to the safety zone. The challenge we have is that when you tell them they shouldn't go to the safety zone, they will say yes. And then they will go the other way and pass at your back and go. It means that they know. So it's not as if you've not been told. There is a vessel station there. So as you approach, you are told you are getting into the safety zone. So do not go. But they will not listen. So if such a person says he cannot see, what if you are told? You do not hear as well.
But the secretary to the Ghana National Canoe Fishermen Council, Mike Abakedu, says the two naval vessels are not enough to serve the purpose.
It is only two naval vessels over there. And look at the radius of the zone, the FPSO. And so only two naval vessels cannot direct the fishermen, even if the current is driving them there. But you know the other side of it, that the hook and line people, even if the current is not driving them, they intentionally go there in spite of the education that has been done. And so we want physical demarcations. They have to try as much as they can, because they said it is difficult to do, but there are mechanisms that they can apply to let the fishermen know where the starting point of the safety zone.
It is essential that a mutually beneficial compromise between the two stakeholders is reached to facilitate a peaceful and productive working environment. Irama Smith, TV3 News, Cape 3 Points.
Now, commercial farmers in northern region who were impacted by the dry spell in 2024 have accused the previous NPP government of failing to fulfill its promise of supporting them following the dry spell that hit the region, leading to low production. Or calling to them, despite having their data collected, they have yet to receive any form of assistance and are appealing to the new government to intervene. The Department of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture in the region has stated that the region recorded 70% decline in production. Let's go there right now, speak to Christopher Mwaku on this development. Chris has joined us via Zoom. Chris, the previous government announced that these affected regions will receive some support. Why are these farmers still complaining?
Somewhere August 2024, some regions in the north recorded some dry spell, and as a result of that, farmlands were lost to this dry spell. So government, as part of measures to support these farmers, announced some 8 billion Ghana cedi support to be given to these farmers. Now, government also indicated that the worst hit farmers will receive some 1,000 Ghana cedis in cash and some food items. As we speak, farmers in the northern region have been complaining that since the announcement by government, they are yet to receive any such support. And so it is affecting them because the rainy season has just set in. Farmers are preparing their land for this year's farming. And so they were looking forward to government to give them that support. Unfortunately, they did not receive it. And so they are raising concerns because some of them actually can not go into farming this year if they do not receive any support from government. Mawena, remember that seed is a very crucial component of farming. And once they lost their farm produce to the dry spell last year, they do not have seeds to go into farming. Tractor services have also been increased here in the northern parts of the country. You will need some 350 or 400 Ghana cedis to be able to plow an acre of land. And so these commercial farmers who do several acreages of land will need more money to go into business. The issues of input is also another matter of concern. Some of the farmers have actually been raising concerns, and let's take a listen to them.
Support at all. It means that we can go about 700 plus that I work with. I also support them to do the farming. And this year, all of those, like the last farming season, those that I supported, they did the cultivation and the dry spell prospect. Even my own farms, the same thing happened. So, in fact, it's a pathetic situation. This year, as I'm telling you, we did not get any support at all. It means that we can't go back to farm. And imagine the kind of people it's going to affect. Most of the women that I do the agro scheme with were Kaya people that I was able to convince to stay back. They will now also go back to their Kayais because even myself will remain in the house. If no, I don't get support from anywhere, it means that because we've lost everything. We apply, we plow, we planted, we applied fertilizer, and rain stopped. So everything got dried up. Not even one maize or soybean. I did.
And Chris, what are authorities from the Regional Agricultural Directorate telling you?
Yes, so Mawena, I engaged the Regional Director of Agric, and what he's saying is that, yes, last year they received some food items, that is rice, for the districts in the northern region. But, you know, when NDC won power on December, after the December 7th elections, there were some incidents of looting at some warehouses in the district. The Agric Director is saying that those were the foods that had come for the farmers, and those food items were the ones that were looted by some alleged NDC party supporters. And so they don't have food to give to the farmers. So as it stands now, the farmers have nothing to receive from government.
Interesting development. Chris, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Christopher Mwako in the northern part of the country, and he will take us on to our very first break here on News Central. It's been heavily dominated by the unfortunate passing of Pope Francis, who died at age 88. We've taken you to different parts of the country as tributes continue to pour in. President Mahamas as well has paid his tributes to the late Pope Francis. We're going for our very first break. When we return, we have a lot more stories for you here on the Easter Monday edition of News Central. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. This is still News Central Live on TV3. We return to stories around the death of Pope Francis. Now, Archbishop Palabakle says he will not be surprised if Ghanaian Cardinal Peter Appiah-Texan is considered amongst persons who can be considered to be the next Pope.
Let's leave it to the Holy Spirit to do its work. When Pope Benedict died, about 1.3 billion Catholics all over the world, we went into prayer. We went into conclave, you may call it that way. And therefore, I am sure we are all going to go into prayer, and we are going to go into conclave. And we will allow the Lord to indicate who should be the next Pope. But definitely, our cardinal is also one of the cardinals. He's of, in the right age. He's had enough experience. And if his brother cardinals think he's the right person and they will be ready to support him, we will support him with our prayers and everything. Definitely it will be a great big pat on our shoulders of Ghana if that should happen.
And that's a wish of a lot of Ghanaians. But I mentioned that President Mahamas as well has been offering all of his condolences as well as commiserations. Let's just walk you through what it is that he's been saying via Twitter, now known as X. He says, "The world woke up to the sad news of Pope Francis's passing. On behalf of my family and the people of Ghana, I extend heartfelt condolences to the Roman Catholic Church and all Catholic faithful in Ghana during this time of profound grief." He goes on to, amongst many other things, say that he fondly remembers visiting the Vatican with his wife, Lordina, where he had the distinct honor of meeting Pope Francis, and amongst many other things, paying homage to him as well. And so that's President Mahama also joining global leaders pay respect and tribute to Pope Francis. And like I mentioned, the entire process as to what happens next, we'll be here to provide details of that for you if you stay with us here on TV3. But just a bit more on what President Mahama said just quickly as his tribute as we round up the conversations on Pope Francis. He says that his legacy of compassion, humility, and commitment to social justice will continue to inspire generations. His leadership and advocacy for the poor and marginalized resonate deeply. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
More around the Pope a little later. Right now, however, police personnel stationed at the Tajebu Misrikasa barrier in the Volta region have intercepted a consignment of ammunition. The interception was made during a routine search in the early hours of Friday, April 18, 2025. A statement signed by DSP Felix Danku of the Public Affairs Unit of the Ghana Police Service in the Volta region noted that approximately 3:30 a.m., officers stopped a Hyundai bus with registration number GR8246Q en route from Accra to Benin. A search of the vehicle uncovered 60 cartons of AAA cartridges, about 15,000 rounds, and 72 cartons of BB cartridges, about 18,000 rounds, which had been concealed in sacks under passenger luggage. The driver, aged about 45, and his co-driver, also aged about 38, were immediately arrested for questioning. Both men denied any knowledge of the concealed ammunition. However, preliminary investigations pointed to the co-driver as the individual responsible for loading the illicit cargo. Following further inquiries, the driver was granted bail to allow him continue transporting the passengers to their destination, while the co-driver remained in custody to assist with investigations. Now, the co-driver is expected to be arraigned on April 22nd, 2025. The service has meanwhile reiterated its commitment to combating transnational crime. Now, as you may recall, this will not be the first of seizures of drugs, of ammunition in the country in the last few months or so. Let's have a conversation on the back of this, on what this means for state of security in the country. Adib Sunonni is a security expert, is joining us via Zoom for a bit more on this. Adib, good afternoon to you. But this seizure of ammunition, given the backdrop of the many other seizures that we've seen in the last few months or so, what does it say about Ghana's border security, particularly in relation to cross-border trafficking?
Well, it is an indication of the fact that our security is working again, because it is only through vigilance you'll be able to make such important seizures. For a seizure to happen somewhere around 3:30 a.m., and the way the ammunition was concealed, it's an indication of the fact that those behind are quite sophisticated. Yet, due to vigilance, our security agents were able to uncover that. Lately, there's been a number of seizures. One great case, if I may call it or describe it, is the seizure of the drugs worth over $350 million. So what it means is our security services, they are working again, because the more seizure, it's an indication of commitment, it's an indication of the fact that you are up to the task. But if time passes by, over a long period, you don't have these seizures happening, doesn't necessarily mean that the trafficking doesn't happen.
Right.
It does happen. So we would expect more of these in the coming days. But let me commend the police and other security services for their vigilance.
But how concerning is the fact that the bus was headed to Benin?
Well, usually we have these ammunitions coming into Ghana. So the fact that it is leaving Ghana, destined for Benin, means Ghana, quite obviously, is used as a transit point. So the ammunition, of course, we don't manufacture them in Ghana. They might have come from somewhere. Where, that is what we are unable to tell right now. So the fact that it is now moving to Benin means Ghana is a transit point, and that is quite disturbing. And I'm also disturbed by the fact that they allowed the vehicle to continue the journey. I would have expected that the driver also be held, the passengers all interviewed. Who knows? Maybe there could be some persons within the vehicle who would be complicit in what has happened. But that notwithstanding, we have one in custody, and we are hoping that they are able to interrogate him well. Maybe perhaps you give out information that would lead to some more busts. But surely it is quite distressing.
Indeed, is this seizure an indication of a larger arms trafficking network in the sub-region?
There's no denying that fact. As at 2014, according to the Kofi International Peacekeeping Training Center, there were well over 2 million illegal guns in the system. So you can imagine 11 years down the line, how many more of these weapons we might have in the system. And I'm one of those consultants who were brought together to develop a new arms bill by the Small Arms Commission. And we've been doing it for a number of years. The bill is ready, and we are hoping that this government shows better commitment, so we pass it into law. At least it would control the movement of these weapons. But surely there's a sophisticated network of certain individuals who traffic these weapons, some of them from North Africa, some of them through the Sahel, the restive Sahel region, and some of them from Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Mali, and the rest. And they come in and fall into the hands of individuals who are engaged in the over 300 unresolved land and chieftaincy disputes we have in Ghana. Some of these weapons also fall into the hands of criminal elements who use it for armed robberies and the rest. So surely the issue of proliferation of small arms and light weapons in Ghana is a major threat, and we need more commitment going forward. I see. I mean, if this is indicative of a larger trafficking, arms trafficking network in the sub-region, what can the country's security chiefs do to boost regional intelligence sharing? Well, it is very important. And I like the last words, regional intelligence. Even within the country in the past, intelligence sharing between the various intelligence agencies is always a major problem. But things are changing from what I see. I see the right people occupying the right positions at this time. And I'm hoping that not just regional, even from within, because we have to put our acts together. We need to share better intelligence. You remember prior to the September 11th attacks in the US, that was their major problem. The intelligence agencies were not sharing information. They were operating in silos. Everybody was keeping intel to him or herself. And that is what resulted into the 9/11 incident. So if we are able to promote the sharing of intelligence within the country amongst the various intelligence agencies, and going forward, get other countries to also share real-time information, it would help, because mostly you are looking for someone in Mali. The person crosses the border into Burkina Faso. The Burkinabe authorities are not in a position to know that this person is being sought after in Mali. The same thing if the person crosses over into Ghana. So we need to work on intelligence sharing. We need to work on border security, and most importantly, and I think this is extremely important, we need the small arms bill to be passed into law. And I think that is critical. My very good brother, Adam Bona, is now heading the Small Arms Commission. He was part of the team that developed that bill. And I know he knows a lot about it, perhaps more than I do. And I'm hoping that the Minister for the Interior and other security chiefs will see the need for us to be able to push this so it becomes law, so we are able to sanitize the arms space in the country. For example, for now, you can, if you want to own an arm, we are not even in a position to know whether you can shoot or not. We don't even know whether you know the rules of engagement. We give you the arms.
Right.
So all of this would change under the new arms regulation.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Adib Sunonni, security expert there.
Thank you.
Now, the integrity of the Obasa on Ofin Bogos highway is more likely to be impacted as a result of illegal mining activities. Illegal miners are mining closer to the highway and have blocked some bridges and culverts. This important highway is likely to get flooded should there be any heavy rainfall. Correspondent Akwesiado embarked on a tour along the stretch. He's joined us with a bit more on this. Akwesi, how bad of a challenge is this for this important road network which connects several regions?
Okay, thank you. So the situation is worsening right from the outset from what that is come. So there is this river where illegal miners are mining directly within the area of the forest, and they have blocked that particular area. The situation gets even more worse in between Wasa Nkunya, Wasa Dapa, through to Wasa Dadiaso, through to Wasa Akwesong. These illegal miners are mining very closely to the highway, and this is the road that connects the Ashanti region to the central region and then to the western region. And it's a very, it's a road that many people use it. So it's a highly economical road. But this activity of illegal miners is affecting the integrity of the road. And if you pass along the stretch, you realize that should there be any heavy rainfall, it is more likely that the road will get flooded. Now, sometime around last year, about 3 accidents were reported at Wasa Dadiaso Township. That's because these illegal miners are mining closer to the road without considering the safety of road users.
And let's hear from some of the individuals you interacted with. Many thanks, Akwesi. He's been monitoring that very critical road and has been speaking to people who live in and around the road as well, sharing their thoughts on what they make of the developments there.
I'm committee members. As some machines near the police station, to the police, no maba, and no difficulties are made from a guarantee for no high power, say, Quino, or Mobema, Quino, I ain't to me, but deɛ yɛyɛ apam deɛ biara sɛ yɛbɛtumi aboa na kwan na ayɛ nti galamseyfoɔ no deɛ ɔmo tietie wɔ paa yɛn nso yɛgu so a yɛne ɔmo ka ho asɛm nti yɛmɛka kyerɛ ɔmo ne sɛ kwan no deɛ galamseyni bi a ɔbɛba kwan no so sɛ ɔbɛyɛ adwuma ɛbɛha kwan no deɛ nyade asame man nso me de ne ho bɛkyɛ no ɛma aban nate na mmoa bi aban de bɛboa me biara no.
Scrap dealers in Ghana are calling on the government to regulate the scrap metal industry, citing rising incidents of criminal activity and a lack of proper oversight. Joseph Armstrong has more in this report.
The collection of scrap metal, both ferrous and non-ferrous, has become a booming business in Ghana. Materials such as aluminium, copper, brass, zinc, and iron are in high demand, particularly for the production of roofing sheets and other industrial products. But despite its economic potential, the scrap metal trade remains largely unregulated. At a meeting with the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation, scrap dealers voiced their concerns. They say, beyond the issue of criminal infiltration, local steel mills are also struggling to purchase the large volumes of scrap metal being collected. Even more concerning, they note, is the consistently low market price for scrap.
One of our challenges has been addressed today. The scrap industry has not been regulated quite some number of time now, and then today, GISDEC Ghana has taken the mantle to regularize the industry by licensing all scrap dealers and then also giving a license to both the scrap dealers and then organizations which will be represented by agents.
The real scrap dealers, we are genuine people because we have the license and everything to work. We supply directly to the companies. So we don't buy these stolen things. It doesn't come to us. But those who buy these stolen things, they are the people that you are seeing in town. But we don't buy. The real scrap dealers don't buy those stolen materials. Help the system to be more professional, then it will bring sanity into the business.
In response, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Development Corporation announced that steps are being taken to regulate the sector.
We want to prevent the thievery of people's metal products. We want to prevent the removal of these gutter covers and all those things. We want to prevent cheating of those people in the industry who rely on this for their daily livelihood. We want to make sure that we sanitize the whole environment. You know, these scrap things cause a lot of, if you like, mess in the system.
He called on all stakeholders to cooperate with the upcoming regulatory framework, which is aimed at restoring order and credibility to the scrap metal trade. As the government moves to bring structures to Ghana's scrap industry, many are hopeful it will also promote fairness, safety, and sustainability within the trade.
Now, Prince Edu was tearing up the Ghana Premier League back in 2020 with his surreal technical abilities. However, after a devastating injury while playing for Bichem United, his career was almost brought to an abrupt end. Oreku Ampufu chronicles the rise of the young Ghanaian attacker.
Prince Edu's path to European football stardom was anything but straightforward. Once heralded as one of Ghana's brightest talents and named among The Guardian's top 60 young footballers in 2020, his promising career nearly ended before it truly began.
It was a very difficult time in my life because I never experienced this before.
The injury occurred during the final Ghana Premier League match before Edu was scheduled to fly off for the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. While playing for Bichem United against Berekum Chelsea, he landed awkwardly while challenging for an aerial duel. What initially seemed like a routine injury soon revealed itself to be far more serious as he missed the U tournament in Mauritania. An MRI confirmed damage to his meniscus, leading to a failed surgery attempt and a year spent at home contemplating whether his football dream had ended before it had begun. During this dark period, Edu returned to his hometown of Sampa, where he found solace and strength.
And but all the same, my family, everybody was supporting me, and it was tough for me. It was tough for me. So that's why I went to my city to stay there to relax my mind and everything. But seriously, I was not thinking about football again because going this injury for a long period like this, it's a lot of things happening to my head. And
salvation came in the form of an opportunity from Danish club Randers, who flew him to Denmark for proper surgery. Though he struggled to regain his form during his time there, this crucial intervention prevented his career from ending prematurely. After negotiations between Randers and Bechem United stalled, Edu returned to Ghana before embarking on his European journey with a move to Belarus. After spending a year at Belarus and Ukraine, Edu moved to Czech giants Victoria Pilsen in August 2024. Since joining Pilsen, Edu has been nothing short of sensational, with 8 goals in 26 appearances in the 2024-2025 season, including 3 crucial goals in the Europa League. He has quickly established himself as a key player for the Czech side.
When I came, they told me about the club records, about what they did in the previous years, and it was a really good record. So, and one of the biggest clubs in Czech Republic. So if you are playing here, you have to be ready for it, ready for the challenges, everything.
One of the most memorable moments in Europe for the Ghanaian came in September 2024 when he scored a vital goal in the 86th minute against Eintracht Frankfurt, sparking a comeback that resulted in a dramatic 3-3 draw. Later in January 2025, his goal against Anderlecht helped secure Pilsen's progression to the Europa League knockout stages for the first time in 6 seasons.
This feeling was great because playing in Europa League is quite a dream come true because we have been growing watching Europa League and Champions League. So getting opportunity to play in this stage was great, and my first goal was against Frankfurt, and I was really happy about it. And now I score against Real, so that's 2 again. So the feeling is great.
As Edu continues to make his mark in European football, he draws his inspiration from 2 footballing icons, Luis Suarez and Ghana's own Asamoah Gyan.
And I continue to make the argument he's the best Ghanaian footballer I've seen.
Asamoah Gyan?
Yeah. I didn't get to see the many greats, but I saw Asamoah Gyan, and I think that's enough for me in terms of
he's a great footballer, yeah.
Ghanaian footballers. That's how we end the Easter Monday edition of News Central. We're back again tomorrow. I am Mawen Aigbeta.
And I am Kemeni Amano. Thank you so much for your company. Bye-bye.